Let's discuss the dark side to Mother Teresa. Most people believe Mother Teresa is a saint who literally helped the poor people and the ill people. A lot of people also believe that this happened so many years ago, and it actually wasn't that long ago. This happened throughout the 70s, right up until she passed away. And she died in 1997. I'm saying it happened throughout the 70s, but it probably did go back further than that. So a lot of these claims come from the volunteers who actively worked at Mother Teresa's facility, so there is good credibility to these claims. Let's start off with money. So Mother Teresa in 1 year brought in $72 million. And they came from really bad people. You have fraudsters, and when they tried to recover that money once they was found out to be fraudulent, they came to Mother Teresa to say, look, we need this money back because the victims need their money back. She refused, and she was like, nope. But she also received huge donations from dictators, and let's just say, they tortured their own people. And she still took the money. And when people wanted to investigate where her money was going, she said, nope, God is my only banker. Now, there is a reason I wanted to start off with the money side of things, and it is because of this. Despite having millions of dollars, these facilities were horrifically filthy, and there was no regulation with the way they would sterilise things. In fact, Mother Teresa said herself, it is too time consuming to sanitize everything. This meant that not just for adults, but for sick children as well, needles were being reused. They were not sterilized. They would be used, rinsed under tap water to be reused again. Bearing in mind, back in these times, there was like real pandemics with diseases such as HIV and AIDS. She would have her volunteers wash fabrics, and most of them had biohazards on. So say a child soiled themselves, that's a biohazard. Or if there is blood on a fabric, it would be washed in a bucket of water right next to utensils, where other clothes would then be washed using that same water. The water, by the way, was freezing cold, and she would have dying people in them facilities taking ice cold showers. Why? To save money on heating. This woman had $72 million in 1 year, and she was not doing this for just that 1 year. She went on to win a Nobel Prize because to the outside world, she was feeding people that are, riddled with poverty and needed her help, and she looked like an absolute angel. But little did we know that money was not going on them facilities. Mother Teresa thought that pain was a good thing, and that if you are in pain, you are closer to God. And she believed that with any kind of suffering, if you're suffering, you're closer to God, and you don't need pain relief. These people were dying, and they was in extreme pain and uncomfortable, and she would refuse to give any kind of medication because they didn't really have any. She wasn't putting the money into the facilities to get any medication. She didn't believe in it. She said that suffering and pain was a kiss from God, and you are going to be close to him. In other words, you are close to your death. Now, she didn't have a lot of the medicines, but the medicines that she did have were being administered by the volunteers. And they were carrying out medical procedures with no training. They had no experience. They were just normal people volunteering because they wanted to be a part of helping. And yet they found themselves doing things they absolutely should not have been doing. Not to mention that when Mother Teresa herself got sick and ill and was in pain, she would go to a westernised hospital, paid a fortune for top-notch care, and received pain relief herself. She would also force baptise people on their deathbeds, so there was no consent. And some of these people were Hindus or Muslims, and she would baptise them against their will as they lay there dying. And this literally goes beyond saying, that's her way of saying, I'm sending you to my God. I don't care what God you believe in, I'm going to send you to my God. You just can't go around baptizing people without their consent, especially when their belief is something completely different. It's so wrong. Some of her closest friends were huge political people, huge scammers, and dictators who would literally terrorize their entire towns that they were in control of. She made a statement saying that AIDS was a punishment from God for being gay, and she said this at a time, it was in 1989, when the research had been done to say that having AIDS was nothing to do with being gay, and she knew this and still made this comment. She also said that diseases like leprosy were a gift because they would teach normal people to love the unlovable. That's what she thought of people with diseases. They are unlovable. When people started to question things more later on, they was questioning, where is this money going? Because these facilities don't look worth £72 million, Theresa. She would refuse to let them in or say that God is my banker, and people feel like, okay, that's your religion, I'm going to have to respect that. They don't want to go against someone's religion. They're not going to make her feel like they're disrespecting that, so they kind of left her alone. Big mistake. But the fact alone is that these facilities were so poor, they was riddled with diseases and hygiene issues, that she wouldn't use them herself. She frequently got ill. She was an old lady and she would go to a posh hospital with top-notch care that she paid for, probably with the money that was actually sent for the other facilities, which was really, really bad. Reporter Donald McIntyre went undercover as a volunteer at one of the facilities. He claimed that there were adults tied to their beds with thick rope, as well as children. He claimed there was an older, disturbed woman tied to a tree and babies tied with cloths at feeding times. And he did a documentary, and I'm sure it's called The Legacy of Mother Theresa, and you can find that on YouTube. Last but not least, she led people to believe that praying to her will cure you of terminal illnesses. Now, the Pope kind of ran with that a little bit, because the woman said, I prayed to Mother Theresa and my cancer is cured. I mean, nothing to do with the medical treatment you probably received whilst having cancer, but the Pope declared this as a miracle, hence why Mother Theresa was labelled a saint. What do you guys think? Is Mother Theresa really a saint? Or is she a hell's angel? And do you think that she intentionally literally put these people through all this pain and suffering? Or do you think something else? Let me know in the comments. I believe this woman started out with the intention of being good, following her faith, but ultimately she let so many people down and actually got a bit greedy with it, and then the rest was history. And I think that she mixed with the wrong people, got money from the wrong people, and it turned her into something that she never actually started out to be. That's just my opinion though, guys. This is just me taking what I can from what the volunteers have come out and claimed. There is some kind of evidence you can find on the internet, but I know how touchy this subject can be. Everyone has different thoughts and opinions on this. This is just mine.